This is a fan-generated show. If you'd like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our new Rumble channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm thrilled to announce the release of my new book, Obama's True Legacy: How He Transformed America. There's a reason why Mike Huckabee calls it a ferocious and chilling read. Order it now at Amazon.com or at FrontPageMag.com. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Robert Spencer here for the Glazov moment. That is Glazov without Glazov. And today's topic is one of the more horrific incidents in the extraordinarily ghastly events of October 7th. We found an audio recording, or there surfaced, I should say, an audio recording of a Hamas jihad terrorist calling one of his parents. In various reports, it was his father or his mother. Probably wasn't clear from the audio, but in any case, the caller excitedly and happily said, "I have killed 10 Jews with my own hands. Your son has killed Jews." And then the parent on the line says, "May Allah protect you." Now, this is one of the more horrific incidents, even in a day that's full of stories of beheaded babies and rapes and all sorts of absolutely appalling incidents. This is one of the worst because it demonstrates what pride and happiness these jihadis take in butchering other human beings. And this is not just one psychopath, but the parent also, who responds happily. And of course, the son is calling, assuming that the parent will respond in a favorable manner. Now, just step back and imagine for a moment if you had a son who called you and said, "I murdered 10 people. In the first place, for your son to be proud of that and to be saying that to you in a positive way, he would have to be a tremendous psychopath, an absolute monster. And then how would you react? What would you say? Would you say, I'm beyond words. I'm absolutely shocked beyond measure. I feel like I have failed as a parent and as a human being to raise such a monster, and I hope you were punished to the full extent of the law." This is likely something like the response that most normal people would have, but in this context, we get, "May Allah protect you." So why does the parent respond this way? What is the context? This is something that happened in a culture that loves death and celebrates death. As a matter of fact, the Quran itself, in chapter 62, verse 6, says that the Jews say they are the beloved of Allah. If they are the chosen people of Allah, then let them love death. Now, this is a kind of a perversion of an idea that is also in Christianity, that has a contempt for or an indifference to this life because the next life is so much better. And the eternal life with God is to be preferred to this existence that's full of so much frustration and pain and all the ills of human existence. But in Islam, it's a little bit different, as is so often the case. It's not just that you're longing to go to the next world, and not even to the presence of Allah, like in the Christian tradition. In the Islamic tradition, of course, the men are going to go and have this eternal bordello in the sky, and the women, we don't know what kind of a reward they will receive, but it's a very earthy, fleshy kind of paradise, the kind of paradise that maybe a adolescent boy in the desert in the 7th century or the 9th century might dream up. In any case, going along with it is a long-standing and often stated desire for death. Many, many jihadis have enunciated this throughout the centuries. I think most colorfully, there was an Afghan at the beginning of the American misadventure in Afghanistan, right after 9/11, some months after, of course. And one of the jihadis in Afghanistan said, "The Americans love Pepsi Cola, we love death." Now that's sort of a comical remark because of the juxtaposition that he made. It makes it sound ridiculous. He was trying to make it sound ridiculous as far as the Americans go, but just kind of came off himself sounding ridiculous. But nonetheless, he enunciated a very common principle. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the younger brother of the brothers who set off a couple of bombs at the Boston Marathon in 2013 and injured a great many people and murdered several. He hid in a pleasure boat as he was trying to get away from the police, and there was a marker in there, or he found one, or he had a pen or something. Anyway, he started writing all these messages on the on the wall of the boat, and they included an avowal that the Muslims would win, the jihadis would win because they loved death. Many jihadis have said, "We love death more than you love life, and therefore we will win." This is actually, though, a fundamentally evil proposition. The whole of creation is fertile with life. You look at how even when a sidewalk is paved and there's concrete put over the dirt, that after a while the concrete breaks and blades of grass come through the concrete. Life can't be destroyed, it can't be put down, it always breaks through. Death never ultimately wins. And of course, if you're a theist, then you believe that the creator of life, the author of life, loves life, and thus it's a matter of acceptance of reality, of the will of the creator, that we would love life also. It's a natural human instinct to love life. There was also a vivid video from Iraq some years ago of this young man, and he's talking about how much he loves death and how he's going to go and kill some infidels to gain the promise that is in the Quran, that paradise is guaranteed to those who kill and are killed for Allah. That's chapter 9, verse 111. And his colleagues, his comrades are bidding him farewell as he's going to drive off in a car that's full of explosives and blow himself up at some target of the infidels. And he starts to weep, and he's weeping and weeping. And I watched that and I thought, this poor kid, you know, his head is filled with nonsense, with demonic, evil nonsense about how he should love death and hate creation and hate life and hate the author of life, and take for the and pretend that the author of life is one who really wants to destroy it and rewards its destruction. And even still, his head filled with all that nonsense, he can't get over his love for life because he's a human being. And every human being loves life. People don't want to die. They don't want death and destruction. And there is a struggle, of course, in this world between the forces that have opted for death and destruction and chosen to fight against their love for life, and those who do love life. And ultimately, we can take confidence, actually, and hope from the fact that loving life is a natural human instinct, and that the lovers of death always have to fight against it. and that the impulse of human beings is to create, to build, not to destroy, that ultimately the lovers of death will not prevail, and that people like this young man who happily calls his mom or dad and tells them that he's killed 10 Jews, it's a horrific way to live. It's a terrible thing to have done to your humanity, but it won't prevail. Maybe even he sometime before his life ends will realize that he does love life and that he should never have taken it away. But his head is filled with nonsense as well, of course. He's filled with the idea that the end time, the last hour, the great consummation of all things, the victory of Islam and so on, will not come until Muslims kill Jews. And the Jews will hide behind trees, and the trees will cry out, "Oh, Muslim, there's a Jew hiding behind me, come and kill him." This is a tradition. That's something that Muhammad is attributed as is said to have said, and it's relatively well known. People often misunderstand it and say it's an end times prophecy. It's not about the world we're living in. It's about when it's all coming down to the end. Well, that may be the world we're living in, but quite aside from that, it's not an end times prophecy. It says the last hour will not come until Muslims kill Jews. And if Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, the best man in Islam, the perfect example to follow, if he says you can bring about, you can hasten the end times, you can hasten the final victory of the Muslims and of Islam by killing Jews, well, then there's a great incentive to kill Jews. The Palestinian Authority Ministry of Religious Education recently issued guidelines for preachers in mosques that included that hadith. So this is something they take very seriously, and they think that they will, as a result, be rewarded by Allah for killing Jews. Now, of course, this is absurd on its face. You know, why did Allah make Jews if he just wanted them all to be killed? And there are numerous obvious questions that make it ridiculous, but it also brings to mind the words of the prophet Isaiah that all those who are familiar with the Judeo-Christian tradition will know, and that is, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. And this is the embodiment of that this young man thinks he's done a good thing by committing mass murder. This is what we're fighting against. We have to be aware of it, not in order to be afraid, but so as to be resolute in our love for life and our determination to defend it. Thank you, Robert Spencer here for the Glazov moment without Glazov, and have a good evening.